There is a moment in every life when you decide to rise, to stand taller than your fear, to speak louder than your doubt, to chase the vision that sets your soul on fire. This is that moment. And here, we walk it together with stories that awaken, voices that inspire, and truths that set you free. This is Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald, where hope has a voice, and that voice is yours. And welcome to the show, everybody. I hope that everybody's doing really well today. And we have a great guest for you today. She is, well, I'm going to let her describe herself because I don't know that I can do her justice. Ashmita is our guest, Ashmita Arora. And Brachelle's going to be joining us here in a minute, I'm hoping. But Ashmita, how are you today?
I'm doing amazing. I'm excited to be here.
Well, no, not as excited as I am to have you here. Describe for our audience the work that you do and the really cool stuff that you're all about.
Yeah, so I'm a spiritual teacher, but I'm also a spiritual guide. So I help individuals that are going through deep transformations in their life, be it divorce or grief. And I'm able to actually see the patterns, their soul patterns that they came into this life to be challenged with and then come out the other side. So I work a lot with feeling contracted and then becoming expanded. And so that's been one of the gifts that I've been given. And that's what I'm sharing now.
I also understand that it has been a journey for you and that it hasn't always been easy. When did you discover you had this gift? And was it the result of some difficulties in your life that led you to this?
Oh, yeah, you name it. I've gone through it. The grief, the health issues, not being able to figure out what my purpose is, just really, really hard stuff that I've gone through. And there was this defining moment in 2019 when I was actually meditating and I heard a click, just like a pop at the top of my head. And that's when it was almost like the floodgates had opened up for me. And I was able to see things that I couldn't explain and hear things that I couldn't explain. Yet they all made sense. Things started to make sense. It was like the veil had been lifted for me. And a lot of the challenges I had gone through in life now were at the point where they made sense. And I had to understand it for my line of work to be able to know if someone's grieving, how do they really feel? What do they need in those moments? What do they not need in those moments? Where their mentality is in different moments. And things like divorce. I hadn't gone through it, but I was an adult child of divorced parents. So it was a different perspective of seeing it as an adult and then just imagining you're still a child as well, their child, and how you felt going through it and all those different circumstances and health issues, miscarriages, paralysis. I've gone through all of those things from high stress lifestyle to now being a lot in flow and in my personal rhythm and being able to see life from both perspectives because I've been on the edge and I've come back from it. So yeah, there was a lot of that before I started my work.
You know, one of the things that you mentioned is that you really didn't know what you wanted to do, who you were, or how you wanted to be, what your mission was, and how you were going to exercise it. Was that kind of a recurring theme for you? Because I think it seems to be like for everybody. Why am I really here? What am I here to do?
You know what? I was so passionate about anything that I would want to aspire to do. So, for instance, I had a scone company and I was so passionate about my scones and building that company. Yet, when I would do it, I would keep getting sick. So, I would have everything prepped for the day and I'd be out, say, at a market. By the end of the market, I'd be in the hospital because I wasn't feeling well. It was just unexplainable. So for me, I would always have something. I knew I was meant to do something. And I would just follow whatever my passion was in that moment, be it real estate or be it the scones or whatever have you. And I'd give it my all, but it would just not pan out at all how I would have imagined it to go or how it was going for others. And so at the forefront, it looked like maybe I'm just sick all the time, or maybe I'm not putting in the effort to somebody else, but on the back end of it, things just were throwing me off. So it was like you do everything as you're supposed to, and something throws you off, something external, family, something, or health, it would just throw me off. And it just became so stressful because I was trying to line up everything so perfectly, and there is no perfect. And trying to do that just brought about so much stress and burnout continuously until it kind of just took me down that path of really bad health issues.
Scones?
Yeah.
I love scones. Rochelle, welcome. Do you love scones too?
Yes, I do. It's been so, so long since I had an original one, but I love them.
Why do you think it made you sick, Ashmita?
Um, I think, when you try to do everything, if I wasn't to give something my all, I could eventually say, hey, you know what, I didn't do A, B, and C, and that's why it didn't pan out. But I think I did everything, and my it was almost like my body was allergic to doing anything that was a societal norm or something that is deemed successful or the right way to do things in society. And so I knew that my mind wouldn't stop me because mentally I was very sharp with those things and I could put my eye on it and do everything logically speaking. So my body had to stop me to get me to that point of just sheer contraction, because it was like, what's the point of putting in so much if, there's going to be something that I can't control, that's outside of my control, that's going to eventually stop me or not give me that result that I'm really looking for.
Now, you were a business owner and you also were a real estate agent. And all those things are, tied but together and stuff. But I suspect, and you tell me, but I suspect that the whole reason that you were here was something that wasn't being a real estate agent. It wasn't being the owner of a scone company. It was to do something else, something much more impactful and something much more plugged in, if you will, to the universe. And the universe went about themselves saying, okay, she doesn't get it yet. So now what we're going to do is we're going to make it harder for her, and we're going to make her sick, and we're going until she opens up and says, this is what we want you to do. This is what the contract that you signed up for before you even got here. And so is that kind of true, do you think?
Oh, that's totally true. That is totally true because to be able to work the way that I work, which isn't even really work. It's when you're doing those jobs and you're hustling and you're really pushing yourself day in and day out, and like real estate, for instance, you're memorizing the steps, and when you're doing the listings, you want to know what they're looking for and all these, it's a lot of memorization. That's probably been one of the biggest differences is when I stepped into this line of work, I'm not really working, I'm just allowing. And it's so different. The flow is so different. The things that come around are so different. I'm not going out there and trying to do it. I'm just being and allowing that to flow. It's so different. It is like you're working in a completely different world than you've ever known, and it's completely different dimension essentially.
But you are working within your purpose. And so when you work within your purpose, it's not like work at all.
No.
It's part of your being.
Yeah. Yeah. And what you mentioned about the scone business and the real estate, those are very um matrix X type of jobs where there's a lot of agendas on how you can get to point A to point B, and you kind of follow and copy paste your way through it. But that wasn't what everyone else was doing. It just simply was not working for me at all. So it's almost like they threw me into this role that didn't have a guide to follow, or some sort of a funnel, or there's nothing like that for me to look to or trust. It's just trusting in the unknown and just allowing, like I said.
And over time, and I don't know how much time. First of all, I got to make sure. Brichelle, are you still here?
Yes, I'm still with you.
Okay. she, she is not on video, but she's on audio, and so it's kind of like a spirit from above is channeling through at the same time. Uh, would you say that's true, Brichelle?
Yes, I'd say that's very true. Instead of fighting with my camera, I figure I'll just give my Wi-Fi a minute to reboot. But Ashmita, as you're saying all of this, I'm thinking so strongly about how much I understand, and how much I've realized other people go through this, because there's a sense of surrendering that I always thought that maybe when I surrendered, it would get so heavy, but it became heavy in a sense of overflowing peace. Was it kind of the same experience for you?
On and off, depending. I felt like every time I thought I figured it out, so I thought, "Okay, you know what? I just surrender completely, and then it's gonna flow." Something would gets thrown in to teach you something else. And
Yeah.
so the part that I've really found peace with is that there's, well, internal peace, because they're going to keep throwing things with our spiritual growth. There's going to be things that maybe we didn't know bother us or didn't know affect us in certain ways. And right when we get into that flow state and we get into that very surrender mode, they'll give us something else. Like, it's not, as long as we're here, it doesn't end, I found.
Right.
So, but knowing that it's okay to continue be becoming and continue to grow, then you're going to be okay. That's where the peace is, right? Knowing that there's going to be change, there's going to be all these things happening to us. But yeah, I think even with the surrender, we think that there's some sort of um level of understanding or success that's going to come, and then we've reached it, just like in the 3D world, how once you gain that success from the outside world, you've made it, and then it's not the fulfillment. So it kind of happens on that spiritual level too, where we think that there's something we're trying to achieve, but
Mhm.
we don't get there. We're there, we're just becoming at all times.
I'm willing to bet, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm willing to bet that you're happier now doing the work that you're doing than you ever were making scones or being in real estate. Would I be true?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, there's the amount of peace that I found, in just letting go and understanding what our real nature is and why we're here was just so freeing, because I was very, very anxiety ridden with postpartum, but then also just life stuff and death and everything that I was so scared of happening around me.
Mhm.
And through this whole process, it opens your eyes to knowing that we're not so limited. We thought that we were so limited in our physical realm, and we're not. It's just one aspect of it. So when that opens up, there's so much more. And that unknowing mentality was what kept me stuck in like fear and stress. It was really bad. So yeah, a lot happier now.
So before you let it go, were you a bit of a stress puppy? Because Rochelle's been a bit of a stress puppy her life too. Was that something that because you grow up with the expectation that this is what you're going to do and you're going to make some money and and then it didn't kind of flow with you the way that you wanted it to and the way that you felt good about it. And but there's a period of time when you're real stressful because the scone thing should work and the real estate thing should work and all that kind of good stuff, and then you discover that none of that's going to work because that's not why you're here.
I found and that was just embedded into me. Like, if you're not gonna do it right, don't do it at all.
Aha.
And that's how we grew up. That's just how we grew up. So it was like, if and but it got to a point of me not being almost like a rebelling against that notion, because that was fine for elementary when I was trying. I just couldn't. I couldn't piece things together. So, for instance, I knew that I wanted to do something really big with my life. And, this is young me thinking I'm going to do something. And I'm only thinking about the things that are told to us in society that are successful, right? But the things to get there, that gap between actually being able to like go to school and do everything properly, just maybe it's the Aquarian in me. I just rebelled against it. I just didn't want to do it. And it wasn't that I found it hard to do the schoolwork or anything like that. There was just, like I said, like an allergic reaction to school for some reason. Didn't want it. So, but in sports and outside activities and things like that, I was go, go, go with my family. Um, that was probably the first challenge where I thought I feel like something's wrong with me because I should mentally be able to really go after these things that I'm told I'm supposed to go after. So rather than going to school, I went to school, but rather than attending all my classes, for instance, I had no interest in sitting in my classes. My husband now, who was my boyfriend at the time, was in criminology at college, and I found that much more interesting. So would I leave sometimes high school and go over to his college to kind of see what's going on there? Yeah, I had all these things outside of me, like opening a restaurant and things that I was fascinated by. And I would go in on wanting to learn everything about that and nothing about what I was supposed to be doing. So that's where it started to kind of branch out, that the alignment to doing things properly. But that caused stress on its own as well.
And Prashel, you're an Aquarian too, aren't you?
Aquarius, yes, I am. And I used to not really be huge into that, but I've come to learn that there is a big understanding in trying to understand somebody and why they're a little bit different, and it can just be a little bit helpful. So
Well, that's it, which is really so. I'm just kind of curious, Ashmita. Is being an Aquarius part of the thing? Because your story resonates with me because it reminds me of Rochelle and her walk with life. She's a little bit farther behind where in development from where you are in your spiritual gifts and the things that you're doing now. But she's working on it and she's doing really well, aren't you, Rochelle?
yeah, it is a lot to take in, and so many things come to the surface, new and old, that you have to work through and figure out. But um, healing your soul and guiding yourself at the same time can make things change a lot, and you have to be very easygoing and not too attached to the feelings or the thoughts depending on certain things. Ashmita, when we come back from this break, I'd like to ask you about how that experience was for you a little bit, because for me, sometimes I just have to just let it be. Not even, don't think about it, don't over evaluate it, don't even try to feel it and come in tune with it. Just keep moving one step forward at a time, because that's actually when things start to make sense a little bit more, is when I let go of them.
And we
Yeah.
need to take a break, and then we're going to talk with Ashmita about her gifts, what she does, and
Yeah.
how she does it, and how it all works for her, and how she can be helpful to you, and because she can be helpful to us right here on today's show. I'm willing to bet. So we will be right back right after this brief message. Stay with us. Love. War and freedom collide in the Girl of Many Crowns. Judith of Francia's story will take you from the heart of royal courts to the chaos of Viking invasions. It's a tale of resilience and courage that proves history is not just written by kings, but by women who dared to choose their own path. The Girl of Many Crowns is available now on Amazon Books, Kindle, Amazon Audiobooks, Barnes & Noble, Kobo, and Book Baby Bookshop. Don't just read history, experience it. Order your copy today. And welcome back to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. Rochelle's here. Really, she is. I think you may, and she'll be, she really is here. And Ashmita Arora is with us. And first of all, Ashmita, your website, if somebody wants to go and follow along with us, well, how do they do that?
Yeah, it's easy. AshmitaArora.com.
Very good. I'm surprised that wasn't taken.
Yeah, I guess so.
It's the universe, and the universe says anyway. Rochelle, go ahead and re-ask the question that you wanted Ashmita to talk about.
I had so many things just barely going through my brain again. Ashmita, do you remember exactly what I asked you? Because I went a different route in my head.
Yeah, they're just kind of sitting about the feelings coming
Oh,
through
yes, yes, yes.
and how we
Feelings coming up and just kind of not trying to analyze really a damn thing, just moving along and being still helps things kind of move along more progressively rather than trying to figure it out at the same time because everything is at the surface.
Yeah, it's one of those things that you're gonna want to feel it, but you're gonna feel it from a place of it not affecting you. So,
Hmm.
where before when we get sad, for instance, then it can dictate our day, our mood, our energy, all of it. And when you're going through your awakening and you're feeling all those emotions they're coming up for a reason, so you can feel it, but it's more there for you to understand. And so when you can root it back to what the cause is, then you
Hmm.
can truly alchemize it. Because one way that you could do it, which it sounds like you're doing right now, is you're letting it bypass you. So you're letting it lose any power over you. So that's
Hmm.
like one step. And then it will keep coming back in different forms. And then eventually then you're going to feel it and then you'll alchemize it. But one of the steps is to detach from it because in the uh, real world. In a lot of people's lives, they let it dictate where they are, right? What they're
Yeah.
doing, how they're doing it. And so the first step is just letting it lose its power. And then later on, you're going to want to alchemize it because that's where your power lies. It's in those dark moments. It's in those constricted moments that the expansion is sitting there and it's just waiting for you to find it.
Hmm.
There's somebody in our audience that's asking, "What in the world is she talking about alchemy? What?" So, could you describe what you mean by that?
Yeah, alchemy is turning one thing into another. And so you could take your fears and turn it into your power. You can always change the way that you're viewing things. So if you view something as negative, you have the power to reassign the meaning to that very thing, and then you can change it and have it mean something else to you, and the way that you perceive it will change as well. So it is a little bit of that mind over matter, but it's also reprogramming because at a very soul level, at a very deep level, nothing is really good or bad. It's the environment that we've been brought up in. It's our belief systems. It's these things that have helped us to determine what it means to us if something is a negative experience or a positive experience. So it goes back to just being able to hold your power and reassign that meaning so that it gives your life more value.
Does that make sense, Rochelle?
Yes, 100%. I'm going through it and it's that exact thing. Just um being still because then I know what you mean about alchemizing it too and understanding that because you can't have the awareness of it and you can't have it brought to the surface and not do anything with it. Like you said, it will come back, but when it keeps coming back and you get the chance to alchemize it, it's not even half as heavy as it was as the first time when you kind of were able to detach from it and handle it for what it was, aside from where you placed yourself in it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, and it's when I talk about the alchemy as well with these situations when they do come up, think about it like this: if there's an issue with say another person, and you get to the point in life where you say, you know what, I can forgive them. That's that first stage, right? And I think I talked to you guys about this before, but that's the first stage. The second stage would be to be able to look at that situation and be able to say to that person, "Thank you." Because when you're able to see the light that that contracted feeling, that bad situation, as you may have determined it, when you're able to see the light in it, then you can really say thank you because it brings you to
Mm,
another stage in your life, another piece of the puzzle. But that
exactly.
takes time to get there as well, right?
Yeah, a lot of patience. Oh my gosh, that was the last virtue that the universe saved for me, and It is definitely the hardest one.
It is hard.
And I wanted to mention this because you mentioned that there really is no good, there is no bad, there is no up, there is no down, there is no dark, there is no light, there's just all of it. And one of the things, that a lot of people are talking or are convinced of is sin, good and bad, and devil, and all that. All that is just, in my humble opinion, all of that's just a fallacy that people believe in because of the fear that they have in their life about the future and everything that has to do with it. In your work, which you're now a spiritual coach and you're working with people to help them get through some of those things, how do you help people that are deeply enmeshed in the fear and perhaps even the hate and division of their life because they think that's what it is, and it really is, that is just a fantasy. It's not even, it's not real, or is it real?
It's real for them if they make it real, but is it real in the sense of who we really are and why we are? No, not at a soul level. But in this game, they can make it real for themselves because you're in a constant state of manifesting, and your thoughts, your beliefs, these systems are what create your manifestations. So if that's the belief system that they're in, then that's what they're going to create more of. The first thing is to find out why those are their belief systems and where does it stem from. But in truth, when I'm helping these individuals, they really need to understand at like I say, the soul level, why we're here, who and what we are, not as people, and but as a spirit, as a piece of source that came through to keep expanding. That's why we're here, and the contraction allows us to expand. So when it's a deprogramming and uh, really challenging them to look at their belief systems and find out what is actually serving them in a positive way. And when you talk about the fear and all of those things that they're hearing from the outside world, I usually challenge them by saying, how much of your life, how many things in your life do you do out of fear, guilt, and obligation? And it's a lot. A lot of people run their entire life from the moment that they wake up to the moment that they go to sleep is fear-based, obligation-based, and guilt-based. And they don't understand that that's what's driving their living. But also, if you look at the outside society in terms of media and things like that, they say things, they do things, they control things to create fear, guilt, and obligation. So societal pressures, that contributes a lot to guilt because you feel like, hey, if I'm not measuring up to what they're saying I should, or the fear of missing out, or, all these kind of things. If they stop doing that and if they keep everybody in a state of expansion, they can't control. So that's where the control comes in, is building up that fear, guilt, and obligation. So it's really, people fear being controlled. They fear being contracted. And when you show them that that's exactly what they're doing by living in those states, then it really starts to open up their minds and their eyes to how they've been perceiving their life.
And at the end of the day, they will live a much happier, more fulfilled, and eventful life if they can get rid of the fear that is dominating their existence. Is that true?
Oh yeah, because that's a state of contraction. It's just keeping you small. It's keeping you small-minded and fearful. And I always say, if you're doing it out of fear, guilt, and obligation, don't do it because it's completely out of alignment. It's throwing you out of whack. But sometimes people misconstrue that for thinking if you feel fear, don't do it. And what I mean, and I'll give you an example, is if I was to say, come share your message in front of 500 people on a stage, you'd be like, wow, that's amazing. 500 people can hear my story, and you feel expansive. You're doing it because you feel expansive. But then the moment comes when you're going to do it and you're scared of doing it. You're not doing it because you're scared. You feel scared. You feel fear when you're doing it. But the reason you're doing it is because of expansion. And does that make sense where the difference comes in? from doing something out of fear for the sake of missing out, for instance, to another form where they're going to feel expansive. It's just fearful to get out of their shell and do it.
Yeah.
That makes perfect sense. That makes perfect sense. And so many of us are brought up in a state of fear because if you don't go to school and you don't get the education and then you don't get the job and then you're going to marry somebody, and what if it's the wrong person? Is you know what I mean? We spend our life rather than I'm going to say something here. It's the gospel according to Paul McCartney. If you just let it be and let life unfold for you instead of against you, it becomes a much more fulfilling exercise, doesn't it?
Yeah. But that's hard for people.
I know, isn't it, Rochelle?
Oh, yes. And I know we need to take a break, but when we come back, Ashmita, I really want to ask you about victimhood. When you're talking about this guilt and pressure and all of these things, as all these things come to the surface and it also arises those emotions, it can be hard not to fall into a path of victimhood, which doesn't allow you to let it go. So I'd like to know how you kind of help make the transition and what the opposite of that would be.
Okay. Perfect.
And I also want to talk when we come back from this break about how you help people get into their soul level, because you can see certain
Mhm.
things about that that are really can be really helpful to people as they're trying to figure out how to negotiate this life. And by the way, it's just a grand game anyway.
Yeah.
But how to negotiate this life? People are now saying, "What? What do you mean it's just a game?
It's a game.
This is serious stuff. I've got to." No, it's not. And by the way, you set it up to play the game the way you're playing it, and your mission in life. Well, I'll ask Ashmita, what is their mission if they've set up the game and they want to change it for their betterment and to make life better? We'll be right back after this particular message. Stay with us.
You're listening to Brushwood Media Network, the best in syndicated talk, news, and entertainment shows.
Are you looking for your daily dose of inspiration? Stay connected to all your favorite shows, music, and news with the Brushwood Media Network app. From Positive Talk Radio to Greatest Vibes Unplugged and so many more uplifting voices around the world, everything you need is right in one place. It's easy to use, too. Always available and designed to keep you inspired 24 hours a day. Go to brushwoodmedianetwork.com and download the app, and you will always have Brushwood Media available on your smartphone. Download it now and make inspiration and music and conversation part of your everyday. And welcome back to Positive Talk. I know it doesn't look like it if you're watching this, but Rochelle is here. She really is. And Ashmita Arora is with us. And her website is ashmitaarora.com, but you need to spell Aurora because it's different than some people might think.
Yeah, it's Arora.
Arora. And Ashmita is Ashmita. And so so there you are. And go ahead and Rochelle, repeat the question that you were going to talk about.
Yeah, I'm guessing it's pretty common for victimhood to kind of play a part in people. I see that's where when the letting go it gets stuck a little bit, and I hate to use that word, but it kind of puts it in a hole. But rather than to focus on that, what is the opposite? How do we train our brains to not only be thankful for a feeling and a thought and a memory that's coming up that we're working through, but to not play the blame game with ourselves and be able to fully actually let it go rather than, taking responsibility for something you weren't even to blame for.
Yeah, I think one of the things is the victimhood. it's almost become this thing to celebrate. It's in society now, it's there's like a group around it. It's something that you
Yep.
belong to. It's celebrated, right? But it keeps you stuck in that mentality of you're restricted to something that happened to you, meaning you've lost control. And if you're going to continue that story, that narrative, you're going on as if you can never gain control. This is something that, say, happened or I went through, and that's where you're stuck. You're stuck at that. You're not stuck at truly empowering yourself. But it's a lot of us have come in with victim mentality because it is such a contracted state. To really claim your power, you have to get past that to see the light beyond that tunnel. But right now, what's happening is because it's being celebrated, because you're being told that it's something you need to heal from, then it makes you feel broken. It's kind of pushing that narrative and keeping people in that frame longer because the light is going to be brighter when the time comes for them to break out of it, because they're going to be in that state only for so long before they're going to notice, hey, I just don't want to subscribe to this storyline anymore.
Mhm.
It's making me feel not good. It's going to bring up the same feelings that they felt as a victim. So they do fall into the blame and everything, but there's only so much you can blame somebody before you just start feeling exhausted because you're taking it out of you. You're not putting anything good inside or expanding yourself. You're just contracting, contracting. You just don't realize you're doing it. You realize that, hey, this thing happened and it's somebody else to blame for it, or I can't do this because of that. And there's only so long our souls can really hold that story before it's like, that's not what you're here to do. You need to break out of this. So
Mhm.
again, there's just two things. It's just contraction and it's expansion. That's it. That's the polar opposite of it. And that's where all those things that come out of the fear, guilt, and obligation bring us into contraction, and then realignment and blossoming bring us into expansion. And that's all it is. It's just they're icons. So if we talk about victimhood, or we talk about
Mm.
healing from heartbreak, or we talk about, say, the race, or all these things, they're all things that we feel can limit us at some level. And so they're just different icons for the same thing. It's like a Facebook icon, an Instagram icon, a Twitter icon, but they're all social media. This
Yep.
life, all these challenges are just icons. They're all contraction. And then on the other end, however you get out of that contraction will be your expansion. So it's just the two. That's actually when we talk about how I see things, I don't when somebody sits with me, I don't necessarily see the exact challenge that they went through. So say like a breakup that they went through a month ago or something like that. It doesn't show up like that, but the pattern, the energy of the situation shows to me, because
Yeah.
it's at an energetic level. It's not at a like a 3D life situational level. They show me more the energy pattern around them.
Right.
I got to ask you because this has come up in my life, and this is what I believe to be true. And I'd love, since you are very well connected to the universe and to your guides, and have a clear understanding of who you are these days and your purpose of why you're here. I believe that every person who is on this planet had a conference before they were even born here with a decision on what they wanted to do, where they wanted to be born, who their parents were going to be, and then this entire dynamic involving other souls, other entities that are going to be with you in this life, and what role they're all going to play. And we're making this great, big, grand play that involves a lot of different people that come into your life and then out of your life. And they've got their own lives that they're doing, but that's part of the overall plan. And so when you come here, you your sole purpose is to do what you planned to do before you even got here. The idea that the tricky part is to find out what that is, and then and work with it, and that's where you come in. Am I even close to, or do I need to be on medication?
No, no, you've got it. So it's kind of like when we take it back and say that life is a game. Let's look at it like it's a video game. We all got together to plan out the video game, the levels of the game, what's going to be included, what kind of tools are used, what weapons are used, all that kind of stuff. What the theme is. And now we're playing the game. The issue that people are having is they create their avatar and then they get lost thinking that their avatar is them when they're playing that avatar. So yeah, at a soul level, we've already kind of planned out the general idea of what we want to learn, how we want to expand, what we want to go through, who we want to meet. And the parents and the children, why they came into each other's lives, why they chose to be there for each other, what maybe they've played that game many times before. They've played it together. There's a group of them that like to experience it, but at a deeper level, it's all the same reflection of us, right? We're all one. But yeah, it is like a video game, exactly like a video game. It's just that we're getting lost in it. And then what happens is if you were playing a video game and you're playing, say, Spider-Man or something, I don't know, I'm not too privy with this, but you're playing the game and there's cotton candy, for instance, inside of that video game. There should be a way for you to get that cotton candy and enjoy it in the game. And this is one of the things in life where we have all these things outside of us. You're meant to be able to enjoy whatever you choose to enjoy. But because we've limited ourselves, we start telling ourselves stories about this is not for me or this is bad and all these kind of things. We're if it's here, we're meant to be able to experience it if we choose, and that's where the free will comes in as well. So we've set up the narrative, how we approach it, how we view it, how we do all those things is more up to free will.
And the interesting thing about that is that we've set this thing up before we got here. But because of free will, somebody else who was intricate to the plan that we had established on the other side makes a decision that is contrary to that plan for whatever reason. And so that changes things a little bit. And so that we have to continue to flow with it and sometimes it doesn't work out the way that we originally had thought, but we have to flow with it. And that's where the understanding and the understanding that you can bring to the table can help somebody to make those adjustments. Would that be true?
Yeah. So what I see when they come to me and I talk to them, first I always start off with dialogue because the way that I also see their pattern is through the words that they're saying. It's between the lines. And so I'm able to then decipher at a soul level what they're meant to learn in that given situation that they're going through. And then for their lives, if they're looking for a bigger, more impactful type of session where they want to really hone in on what their true highest alignment is, then I can see that as well. But, the clarity on what you're meant to do and the clarity on why you're going through these things is so small in comparison to the actual transformation that you need to have to get to that. That's we've been taught a lot of the times that once you have the answers, you're good to go. But to actually put it into practice is where they get stuck because I can tell you what you're meant to do. But if there's so much programming, there's so much fear, guilt, obligation, these attachments that you have in between you right now and that higher timeline, you can't just know and get there. You have to know and desensitize yourself to some of the situations and reprogram the way that you view it to be able to really harness those things, to be able to turn into that version of yourself.
And I'll use myself as an example. In 2002, 2003, when I said, I'm going to quit my district sales manager job and I'm going to go on the radio. And I had most people around me say, have you lost your friggin' mind? including my wife at the time and all of that, because it was comfortable. I had a nice life. I was making good money, but I wasn't happy. That wasn't why I was here. And that continued to gnaw at me. And that's, for me, that's how it works, is it continues to gnaw at you until you make some decisions that are in line with what you wanted to do before you even got here. Is that common? Is that close?
It's so common right now, especially because there has been a lot of people that have reached some sort of outward success, yet the inner fulfillment, they're missing it. They're still looking for it. They're wondering why they don't feel right, why they don't feel good, why they don't feel all these things, whatever that means to them. And it's almost like a black hole sometimes when, like I said, the way that I did everything, I tried to do it all perfectly, and it just wasn't, mine just didn't mash up. So it just wasn't going anywhere. But for these individuals, they've gotten those things and they've achieved everything on the outside that they ever wanted to flawlessly. They've followed all those patterns. And now there's just this inner part that they didn't listen to, that they don't know why they can't find that sense of happiness or all these things. And it could drive them mad. Like there's a lot of people right now going through the anxiety, the depression, thinking that they're ungrateful for their life or something's wrong with them. And there's nothing wrong with them. It's just a lot of their life has been dictated by outside forces. They haven't been able to really hone in and feel a sense of self. And one of the things is, I've been asked a lot about meditation as well, and like, how can people that don't feel comfortable meditating meditate? And I say, just do something you enjoy. Because all it is truly, when you're meditating, you just want to dumb out all that outside noise. Like, you don't want to hear it. You want it to just kind of go away for a moment so that you could just be in flow and enjoy something. And then you get more in contact with your intuition. That's when downloads and ideas and thoughts and all these things can kind of come in, when you're in a state of being able to just have everything else around you go away. Even if it's a moment, if you're swimming or you're reading or you're getting lost in something, you're just not thinking about other things. You're not focusing on outside things. That's just, you can get that little bit of inner peace. So sometimes it's not a whole life upheaval that they need to go through. Sometimes it's just something small, but that's one of the ways that they can get that little bit of peace in their everyday life as well. Just do more things that you enjoy doing.
And Rochelle, does any of this make sense to you?
Oh yes, 110%. It's just so powerful. Kevin, do you want to take our last break, or are we gonna?
We're gonna skip it.
Okay. So yeah, Ashmita, it makes sense with what you're saying, because it's pushing against what is trying to be there for us. I think there was a shift that happened in me majorly when I started working with Kevin. One of the first things he ever taught me is, it's not happening to you, it's happening for you. And to kind of see everything come in as that way, and whether it's going to be a part of my life or it's going to be a lesson, I don't have to look at it from a negative perspective, because I'm standing in my own. I'm not absorbed in everyone and everything else and what they think. Kevin usually also says, what other people think of me is none of my business. And at first I really didn't understand that. It reminded me of, don't tell me, because it can't hurt me. But there's so much less fear when you do it the first time, because then when everything kind of comes back around, you don't have to try to make it make sense. And I think that we do that a lot in this doesn't make sense, and I don't understand, or all those things. Do you work with people who you tell maybe you're not supposed to understand those things right now, because as you move through it, you'll understand it?
Yeah, the thing is, one of the things for my life personally, I could say, is nothing made sense. And it wasn't until I went outside of my senses that it started making sense.
Right. Which doesn't make any sense.
Which doesn't make any sense. And it still makes no sense. Like, when I'm going to talk to somebody, or there's a client coming through and I'm trying to tell my dad, for instance, now he gets it a little bit more, but yeah, I'm just going to help them by doing this, this, and this. And it's completely 5D work. He's just yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Like, he's not really going to ask questions, but he's just, okay, sure. If it helps
Whatever you
them,
say here.
whatever you're saying, and then, just say hi to somebody standing behind him, and he's like, there's no one there. But these little things that they don't make sense, and I still can't explain it fully what I do. Like, it's hard to say it. And I was talking to one of my friends, and I was like, I was having such a hard time even naming what I do for work, because I mean, you try to cross a border and at first I was like, what do I do? I talk to people that have passed on, and I tell people their energetic patterns. Like, what is this called? How do I explain this? And my
Yeah.
friend's like, just spiritual teacher. That's everything can go inside. It doesn't make sense, but different times in our lives, things come to help us kind of bridge that gap between the physical realm and the spiritual realm.
Mhm.
But for the majority of people that are coming to me, they already have a little bit of an inkling about spirituality, because that's just more what I work into, rather than more of a therapist or counselor type of job.
Mhm.
So they have to have that little bit more deeper understanding of self when they come. But it is just being able to really go back and know who you are. They say know thyself, but really know thyself, not the video game version, that character that you've created, but at a soul level. And the thing is, it's not so serious.
Mhm.
It's not that serious. Like, you have to be able to laugh at yourself and these situations, especially when they're getting out of hand and they seem really, really hard. Like, you have to be able to go, man, why did I pick this? And like, how strong am I going to be after this? Because this was challenging.
Mhm.
And he's like, Kevin, you were right when you said it's the way that we look at things, because there's some kids in this world that have nothing and they are so happy.
Yep.
It's
They are,
amazing, isn't it?
it's crazy. They know nothing else, right?
Yep. Yep.
And
We got to have a group of people in Kenya. They're and Samuel, he feeds 350 kids, and these kids have nothing. They don't even have a decent pair of clothes. They've got a bowl, and every Saturday they go and they get their bowl filled, and they're smiling and they're happy because that's what they know, and they're gonna get fed. That's a big deal in Kenya and stuff. So we need to simplify it, I think, and dumb it down a little bit and let it go. It's going to be fine. Everything you were alive before you were born. You're going to be alive after your body is gone, and so just enjoy it. Enjoy life. Enjoy yourself. Am I being Pollyannish and not serious enough?
no, like that's honestly what it is. But the reason that people have a hard time understanding it as well is when we do look at these kids that are in these different countries and they don't have anything. And we go, well, if we can all pick, our soul contracts when we're coming in here, why would they have picked that? And
Mhm.
it's almost like, and the other question I've gotten a lot too is, why are there serial killers and why do kids get cancer? Like, these very real, real life things that people go through, and it's very challenging. And in those senses, it's hard to say it in light, because it's so deeply connected to individuals. And but it's truly to show us compassion, to show us, how much we do have. They came in to say, hey, I'll come in and I'll remind you guys that you could still put that smile on your face without all these things. That doesn't determine your happiness. Or I'll come in because I'm going to show you some sort of light that perhaps you didn't know you could find after I'm gone.
Mhm.
There's so much depth to it, and it's just, we have a very narrow vision of life and how it's meant to go. That's all it
Yep.
is.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Are you familiar with Neil Donald Walsh?
I'm not.
He wrote Conversations with God and 30 other books. And one of the things he did a short story. Let me tell it to you real quick. And it's about a little boy in the sun. And he's on the other side. And they ask him what he wants to do when he comes here. And he says, I really need to learn about forgiveness. I don't know enough about forgiveness. I want to learn about forgiveness. And he said, but the problem is there's only love in heaven. So nobody wants to be the bad guy. And he said, I need somebody that I'm going to have to forgive because they're going to do something to me. And nobody wanted that job. And then one guy finally said, oh, well, all right, I'll do it, but I do it out of love. And I do it because that's what you want me to do. And I'll do it for you because I love you and I want you to learn and to learn about forgiveness. That I think is a lot more real of what happens on the other side than what we think it is. And so the ulterior motives that people have why children get cancer might have to do with their parents, might have to be a gift that he is giving them to say, okay, I will take this on because this is what you need to do, or this is what I need to do for you because this is what you're asking for your life mission this time around. Does that make any sense at all?
Yeah. Yeah. That's how I've felt it plays out as well, is that we all do it in a state, because if you're just in light, you're in light. There's no, like, you can't continue to expand. You need that contraction to allow you to expand. But it's things like saying, like, without Hitler, we wouldn't have all these stories of all these heroes that came forward. You know,
That's right.
that these things have to happen in a sense for us to be able to get the good, because that's just how it is. I mean, how boring would it be, though? Not saying that that's great entertainment or something like that, but like, how boring would life be if we weren't here to learn and go through things?
And every experience that we have, both good and bad, is designed by us for our own good, so that we can ultimately become who we choose to be. I know Brichelle's 26. She doesn't exactly buy this yet, because there's some things that have happened in her life, and it's like, I can't believe that would be something. I mean, Brichelle, do you get any of this?
Oh yeah, 100%. I've come to terms with the moving on with it and seeing it for as it is, because it is real and it is mine. But as also going through this process, it's crazy how much I get to see my change in other people. And then they talk about gifts they're realizing they have and things they see in themselves just by me taking care of myself and no longer focusing on those other people. That's kind of how we help each other. It all comes down to, you have to do it yourself first, right?
And that's the ripple effect that you can create. And that's what Ashmita is doing for other people, is she's creating, helping them. Well, she's not creating it. She's helping them understand it so that they can create the ripple effect that will change generational habits, change generational lives, and make everyone. That's a big deal that you're in, a big mission that you're on.
You know what? I would think it was harder in terms of planning it from like a 3D type of lifestyle, because when you're thinking about, like we talked about before, the business and the real estate, that's a lot of planning and a lot of output. But when you start to flow in with your alignment, it allows you to bring it through as your medicine. And so it's amazing to see the impact that it has on people, and you truly get to the state of feeling blessed that you can even do this for work, or what we call work, right?
Right. Yeah, I don't work. I do this 50, 60 hours a week, and I don't work a day in my life.
Yeah.
This is all. And Brichelle is coming to terms with that, and she's getting the same thing that I'm getting. She says, this is really cool that we're doing this. So, and Brichelle, Ashmita, we've run out of time, and I want you back desperately. Will you come back and see us?
Yeah, let's do it.
Awesome. Brichelle, you get to say goodbye.
Yes. Well, thank you for everybody who's joined in and listened. If you didn't catch the whole thing, feel free to do that on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, and everywhere else. Thank you for being our guest today, Ashmita. We have so much to learn from you, and I'm so glad Kevin asked you to come back, because we really need you to. But in the last 30 seconds, any ways to contact you, reach you, and find more ways to help themselves through you?
Absolutely. They can go to ashmitaarora.com. There's a free guide right now that will help you give you 3 simple tips that can get you in touch with your own intuition. So that's really cool. So you can just go on my site and grab that for yourself.
Perfect.
You are an amazing woman, and thank you for going through all that you've gone through to get to where you're going now, because you're not done getting through where you need to get to. And I can't wait to see, and for both of you, you're both younger people, I can't wait to see how you're going to blossom over the next 30 years.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kevin.
And have a great day, everybody. It's Friday. Have a good weekend. We'll talk to you soon. Thank you for being part of Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald, where stories inspire and voices remind us of what truly matters. May today's conversation give you hope, courage, and a reason to keep moving forward. And just remember, till next time, be kind to one another, because each other's all we've got.